Councillor Bayer, Councillor Lafreniere, Councillor Locker, Councillor Robinson, Councillor Collada, Councillor Hogan, Mayor Johnston. That concludes the business of council. I'm going to go to the mayor's report, and I know it's very hot in chamber, so I'm going to try and keep it fairly short, but I also know it's been a very busy time, so I'm going to run through some of the things that have taken place. On June 10th, we had an Aboriginal Accord of all the stakeholders in preparation for National Aboriginal Day. I was pleased with the turnout, as always, and the commitment of the organizations. On June 12th, City Manager Sepatelli and I had the opportunity to participate in a focus group session with Manitoba Hydro regarding the economic impact that is taking place in our community, and I welcome that opportunity to have that discussion. On June 13th, I attended, along with Councillors Robinson and Councillor Collada, at the RCMP Memorial that was held, and I want to acknowledge the organizers putting that event on, and I really want to acknowledge and thank all that came out wearing the red, and especially the number of youth. And it was a tremendous show of respect for the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. On June 14th, I had the opportunity to attend the Glacier Test Facility Open House, and I was very pleased and expressed my comments to the organizers, especially Don Pereira and his staff. Great opportunity to showcase just a phenomenal success in Thompson in terms of diversifying the economy and working together in partnership between industry and government, and I look forward to future announcements in terms of expanding that facility. On the 17th, along with Councillor Robinson as the AMM representative for Northern Manitoba and City Manager Sepatelli, I attended the AMM Northern Mayors and CAO meeting in Flin Flon. Very pleased with Minister Struthers, who attended that event. We had a good conversation on a number of different items, and we'll be following those up. On the 18th, I attended a number of events. Chuck Davidson, the president of the Manitoba Chamber of Commerce, was here in Thompson. He also spoke at the chamber meeting, I understand. Very impressed with Mr. Davidson, and no wonder, because he's actually from Northern Manitoba. So we had a good conversation with him, and I really liked his outlook and his view to the north, more importantly, his view to working cooperatively with business and the chamber here in Northern Manitoba in terms of a long-term strategy for the north. So I look forward to continuing to work with him. Also on the 18th, I met with Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Athrob, who is the Exercise Commanding Officer. And this is a really interesting proposal where they will be coming to Northern Manitoba mid-August to run an operation, an exercise, and they will be ensuring that they communicate with the community and likely holding a open house while they do this. But they pick different locations, and Northern Manitoba has been picked this time. So it's quite an event, and it's going to be very interesting to see. Also on the 18th, I had the opportunity to attend the launching of the Gail and Arnold Moorburg book that details their story and the story of Comair. I know Councillor Collada was there, as well as Councillor Bayer, and nothing but kudos to Gail Moorburg, and it was a great event. It is a phenomenal success story that all Northern Manitoba should be extremely proud of. The Moorburgs were tremendously generous, and their company, Comair, I always have said, is one of very few companies that actually has had a headquarters in Thompson, and I know Gail and Arnold were absolutely committed to maintaining that while they were in the north. Great to hear some of the stories, and encourage people to pick up a copy of that book. We immediately went from that over to the Nickel Days President's Reception. Councillor Bayer joined me there as well, and I had the opportunity to extend best wishes to President Wendell Fitzpatrick, all the Nickel Days board, Murray Nichipor from United Steelworkers on the King Minor contest, as well as all the sponsors and those that make Nickel Days such an event, and so it was great to be a part of the reception. On the 19th through the 22nd, of course, Nickel Days was held here in Thompson. I want to acknowledge the parade that took place on Saturday morning. I want to thank Nick Virgilio and the Lions Club for the work that he does to organize that parade in honor of seniors and elders this year. I had great comments regarding the parade itself, but also the parade route. People were pleased with the new route. We got around to some of those locations that we haven't been able to pass in the past, so I appreciate the willingness to change that route. And Nickel Days, by all accounts, looked like it was a tremendous event. And then, of course, right here at McLean Park on June 21st, we had National Aboriginal Day. I want to thank all the organizers. I had an opportunity to participate in the grand entrance. I want to acknowledge Councillor Lafreniere, who provided the Aboriginal Accord report, and copies were distributed to all the community. I will note that copies of the Aboriginal Accord report will be made available to all stakeholders who have signed on to the Accord, as well as it'll be available in all civic buildings here in Thompson. And I can tell you, it's probably the one document that I hand out as much or more as any other document I have, and one that probably gets us one of the most, or some of the most favorable feedback in terms of the initiative that we're undertaking in Thompson. In terms of some of the other things, just a couple upcoming events. As indicated, tomorrow City Manager Sepitelli and I will be traveling to Winnipeg for meetings with two ministers. The first will be meeting with Minister Struthers along with the mayors of Flin Flon and the Pas to talk about the financial impact that the past winter has had on our communities and the additional costs incurred by communities. People may be aware that the City of Winnipeg has recently applied for disaster assistance based on the impact of the extreme cold weather. We've had our administration put together some stats for us, and it looks like we've incurred well over $100,000 in additional added costs in terms of dealing with the cold weather. So we'll be making the pitch, and our pitch is very simple. The principle says if the City of Winnipeg is eligible for disaster financial assistance, then other communities in this province better be eligible for it as well. So we'll see how that meeting goes. We will then follow up with another meeting individually as City of Thompson and Minister Struthers with respect to boundary expansion and other municipal issues. And we'll also have a meeting with Minister Bjornson for the very simple reason, and this will please Councillor Clatta, Councillor Beyer, to note that the application for the seniors housing has been completed, has been submitted, and our expectation is will be received and viewed favorably by the province of Manitoba. In addition, we will be meeting with the Manitoba Conservation. You may have recalled there was an issue with DSFM regarding the excavation of lands and some additional costs based on a requirement of the province. We're meeting with Conservation to see if that can be addressed. I'm very confident that it will be able to be done, and so those are some of the meetings we'll have in Winnipeg tomorrow. Some upcoming events: June 28th, Pride North of 55 event right here in McLean Park, and July 1st, Canada Day. I encourage everyone to come out again right here in McLean Park. A couple quick things in terms of operations. You'll see that today, I believe we've completed the first pass of the community as a whole for street sweeping by finishing up in the Burntwood area, if not today, tomorrow. We will then immediately start on our second pass of the community in terms of street sweeping, so I encourage people to watch out for the machinery as we're on the streets. In terms of capital works, you may be seeing that capital works is taking place. We had a fair amount of pipe located at the corner of Thompson Drive North and Riverside. That pipe was put together over last week and was installed over the last couple days. That is a water line for the information of the public, and that is using a new technique that many southern communities use that minimizes the impact on the lands in terms of trenching, and it appears from everything we're hearing is going very well so far. The next area, and people will see the pipe having been located in the last day, likely today, on Cree Road. That is another section that will be started immediately. I can tell you that we are being challenged by water breaks. We have 8 breaks on the board. I understand the frustration with people saying that the water is running. And someone does pay for that water. There's no doubt about it. But it's not individuals metered today. It is the production of the water, which Valley continues to be responsible for. That's not good enough, though. We have to try and get them fixed faster. But I can tell you, our crews are working, and one of the challenges that we are having is on line locates. We have to get line locates before every dig. One utility has advised they will only do line locates 1 day a week. That means right now, if a break occurs the next day, we have to wait 7 days to get the line locate, or we have been told we have to pay to the damage to their line. Neither of those scenarios is, I believe, acceptable. Administration will be following up, and we're going to be having that discussion that we need a better response. Running water in the streets is not acceptable. Last thing I just want to touch on in terms of some big, big events that are happening in this community right now that people need to get out and celebrate. Paul Anderson is turning 40 years old today. Oh, I did give that age out. 40 years old today. Paul does a phenomenal job in this community. He is at every event. He's always smiling. He does a great job. Most importantly, his family came up from Dryden to surprise him on the weekend, and Paul did his best as an ambassador for our community, showing them around. So Paul, nothing but the best. You're a great guy, and you do a phenomenal job in Thompson. So you can record that and give that to Shaw. That's my report. I know some people have been to other events as well over the last few weeks, and I'm going to open it up and see if there's any comments. Penny.
One thing, can you please, in case not everybody understands what a line locate is and the significance, can you explain that first? And then I'll give my little
Mr.
report.
Sepitelli.
There's a number of utilities that have buried lines, I mean, obviously in the ground. And for the most part, the lines are usually located where either the main is or where the service is. So it's a challenge to determine as to where those locates are so that we don't disrupt the other utilities when we have to dig for a water break.
Okay. Good. Couple of things. Today I was at the Community Futures North Central Development session they hosted for Via Rail and Omnitrax. It's part of a communications commitment that Via and Omnitrax made to the Bayline communities. And I think we had every Bayline community represented. Some were on telephone. And it was a good exchange of information and questions, and Via and Omnitrax both have promised to get back to the communities with answers to some of the questions. On June 25th, that's on Wednesday this week, is the annual general meeting of the Thompson Zoological Society / Boreal Discovery Center at 7 o'clock, and I urge you to attend because they're going to have some exciting news to present or information to present. And also for those who follow Communities in Bloom, the judges have announced they will be here August 6th. So we have time to make sure everything is spruced up, our yards are watered, and there will be posters, if they're not already out, or other information rather, in terms of which neighborhoods will be judged for Yard of the Week. That'll be forthcoming.
Thank you. Any further comments from members of council who might have attended events? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Councilor Lafreniere, Councilor Hogan, all those in favor? We stand adjourned. We're going to go to question period.